welcome back to A City Planner Plays City Builders. We are building the city of Verde Beach. And in the previous episode, we spent time building out the initial grid for the city. And I mentioned that I wanted to build out a city park and continue to meet the city's demands, and we're going to do that today. But one of the things I want to start out with first is actually upgrading this main street throughout the downtown area. And the reason for that is we're going to run into issues with right-of-way in the future. I hate that we're going to have to demolish a bunch of buildings to accomplish this. This is one of the I really wish that 4-lane roads were enabled at the start of the game for this very reason, because we're going to have to rebuild a bunch of infrastructure. So I'm actually going to pause it because of all the destruction this is going to cause. And we're going to have issues. So we'll have to sort through some of these things. Oh, this is killing me. And of course, because we're in vanilla, some of this is not going to be all that easy to fix. So it doesn't like the angle on this road, River Street, which is something, I'm not, it's not even the angle, it's this little segment. So, okay, well, we'll have to fix that. Okay, so now I've got some paths to clean up and zoning to clean up as well. So let's start out with cleaning up some of the paths. A lot were broken. Okay, so our paths are cleaned up. Now it's time to finish up and fix our zoning. Noticed one small trail connection that I didn't make, so I'll make that now. And now we want to clean up over by our entryway. Just kidding. We don't want to do that because we can't. So I guess we're going to continue to have this situation. So at least this is mostly resolved, I think. You clean up this one last little bit. So I wanted to do that to make sure that we don't have any more destruction in the future, if at all possible, because we know that this is a collector. It's going to be the main road that's carrying traffic into our community from the highway, and technically the highway would be considered an arterial. So we aren't breaking the rules of roadway hierarchy. At the same time, we have all these extra power lines, and that's maintenance costs that we don't need anymore. So I'm gonna get rid of these. That's not something in real life that might exist as a service or as a power main going through the city, and it might just exist into the future. But in City Skylines, I figure, why do that if you don't have to? If you can get power from building to building, you might as well go that route. So just one more thing about Main Street. So I personally, one of the things I'd really wish that the game would improve would be allowing you to dedicate right-of-way rather than to simply, lay a road. I look at this, and I always knew that this was going to be a collector. I always knew that it was going to have 4 lanes. I wish I could dedicate that width, even if I'm going to install a dirt road or just a 2-lane road first. I'd love to see that in a future version of the game. But for the time being, we're at where we're at. I do want to take a look at our junctions though. Right now, I'll have to get rid of my zoning first. I know that none of these are going to warrant stoplights. You'll often hear of in small towns people, bragging about their one stoplight. I grew up in a town like that, and that was the thing. You knew where the stoplights were. There weren't that many. And one of the things I don't love about this game is how they kind of litter them throughout any collector, and that's not necessarily reasonable. Where a collector meets a collector, sure, but where a collector meets a local road, unless there's a ton of traffic, it's probably not needed. Now, one of the other things that someone or multiple people brought up was that I alternated from using abbreviations for street and not. So I'm going to fix that now. Okay, so I think those were the main ones. I did miss some roadway naming, but I'm going to fix that later on after our park is done, because I think there's a bigger issue with what's going on with our street naming. River Street is looping back around and going all over the place and turning into 5th Street because that's looping around. And part of that is the way that the game handles roads that you turn a corner. In a city, there would be street naming conventions, and part of those conventions would be when the use of a drive, street, way, when that's appropriate, and when the street would change names. So, potentially when a street like River Street turns a corner, now it gets a new street name right here, and that would be well defined. Unfortunately, we can't do that, but we can fib it by forcing this street to turn and then renaming this road and teeing it in. And that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to try to be mindful of that and not have any of these streets like River loop back around, have a 90, come across, become Lewis Road for a minute, then River Street again. It's going to be a little work to be intentional, but I think that the outcome will be good. But let's move on, I guess, to garbage collection, because I can already see that that's a problem. Let's run this for a second and see what's going on with that. So yeah, our garbage processing status is bad, very bad. So I'm just gonna pump up the budget. We don't have a very big city. I think that this should be good enough for the time being, and we'll just kind of let that go. If it gets wild and we start seeing lots of garbage notifications, we will make some changes. But right now, let's focus on the meat of what we want to accomplish today, and that's making a really special park. The kind of park that everyone in the community likes to go to, that you'd watch fireworks at, that you'd go for a stroll. Maybe if you were a runner, you'd go for a run. If you were a fisher, you'd go fish. It's really the crown jewel of this town. And this is a small town. This is less than 2,000 people at this point. So it really would be a community amenity, a real jewel. So I mentioned that I might get rid of this portion of River Street, and I am going to do that, but I'm not going to wholesale get rid of it. So what I was thinking is it might be nice to have, well, first of all, not amusement parks. We want city parks. So we're going to have, let's put our main gate in first. And I think it would be nice to have that, on Main Street. We've got our high school right here. Maybe that would be a good place. People get done with school and they could walk up, or we could go a little bit closer. Yeah, let's bring it a little ways away. And the main reason I'm thinking that is, let's put our side gates. I want to put side gates at the edge of River Street. And then rather than having a road connect River Street, let's have a path connect it. And this will give us a couple of opportunities. So opportunity one, this is where Move It. I miss Move It, because I would raise that up, but we're going to be okay. So the opportunities that this is going to give us in the future is, as you're looking right now, we don't have many things we can do with the park. Info booths, a plaza, cafe, restrooms, and that's about it. And we're gonna work all those in, but in the future we're gonna be able to have other water-based amenities like the piers. And converting River Street into a path will still allow pedestrian traffic through. It'll really incentivize people to walk through the park to get from River Street to River Street. And I think it's going to give us the opportunity to add some piers and really make this the crown jewel of the city. So I do want to have some logic with the pedestrian paths in the park and kind of mirror some of what's happening with the local road system. I also want there to be enough variation in here to give someone the opportunity to take a couple different paths if they were going for a walk. So this isn't a very big park space, so there's not going to be a lot. We can do something. So now we've got the bones of the park, and one of the things that bugs me to no end is that these, if the radius is a little bit too much, it adds a crossing. I really don't like that. So I'm gonna try to fix that. Okay, so I got rid of those two. Good enough for me. So let's add a plaza, and I apologize. This is one of the vanilla things that I don't like so much. You get this weird park area cover when I'm placing assets. So I'll put the plaza in the center and the cafe near the main gate. And I think I want restrooms near the main gate and maybe near the shore as well. And with that, we are tapped out of funds. So I want to clean up some of the landscaping in here. We're going to add some stuff back. But the next thing we're going to do is add some fencing. We don't want people getting a free ride into this park. So I will block people from having that free ride. You want to come to the park? They've got to pay. Okay, so we've got fencing all the way along except here. Let's go a little bit further. So now the park's enclosed. Let's take a look. So we've got enough entertainment to level up. Got our income. We're making some money. We might want to contemplate, let's see, the park maintenance facility. Yeah, we can sit and contemplate that all we want. We don't have the money for it, although we will in just a second. So this is a very large building. And the last thing I want to do is put that in a high value area. I think I'm going to hold off on building it for now, but we know it's available for the future. So let's go back and take a look at our other amenities. So we have park cafe, restrooms. We're gonna need an info booth too. And I figure that should be close to the main gate as well. So you kind of get all of that stuff when you're coming in. So it could be nice to have some picnic benches, maybe a place to play chess like here. I'm gonna do a little bit of decoration. All right, and right in the middle of decorating, we become a boom town. So we get some new services, some public transit, post office, some new policy specializations, and some more road options, which is nice because we're pretty limited right now. The main one that I'm interested in is the highway. I mean, we haven't been able to fix our entryway at all. This is our opportunity. Water with heat pipes, not necessary in the tropics. Cemetery, elder care, child care. That means that we're going to actually have to start thinking about death care and, about taking care of people at the beginning and the end of their life. We have a number of other transit options available, so I'm feeling pretty good about what we have available to us. So let's finish up with this. And I'm not going to get real heavy into the decoration here. Not until we have more of the buildings unlocked, which will come very, very soon, actually. So I said I wouldn't continue with decoration, but I might actually. So this is a tropical area, so I think it'd be nice to have some palm trees. And there we go. So I'm going to line this with palm trees. And since we've lined this with palm trees, I think I'll just mix in some other more tropical landscaping throughout as well. And I am going to leave some empty space in there. The main thought there being, people might want to lounge, throw a frisbee. I know that you can't see that in the game, but, sometimes you've got to use your imagination. Okay, so let's start thinking about those other things that are now available to us. We have this big park chessboard, which I love that asset. I think that is exactly the kind of thing that would make a park special. Okay, so we'll place that. And now we have our piers. Let's see, this is a little better than the default. So we'll put these at the end of the road. So there's the first one, the second one. Let's see if we can do the same thing. So it's not perfect, and that bugs me, but vanilla, it's okay. We will be satisfied. And it looks all right, so I will just accept it. I do want to see if I can level out this grade a little bit and make this a little bit more, I guess, nicer. Not a little bit more of anything, a little nicer. We do need a name for the park. Birch Hill, not exactly the best name for this, and I could get super boring and say, you know, Verde Beach City Park or whatever, but if you guys have a good idea, I'd love to hear it. So we have this going. We're gonna let this sim for a little while. We might want to add some other normal type trees in here as well. Or not normal, I guess normal to me, living in a place that's not tropical. But we need to start fulfilling our death care needs. Now, with a cemetery, I think I left it aspirational in Bluffside Crossing to not ever disrupt a cemetery, and then I quickly disrupted cemeteries. And I'm going to try not to do that this time. I don't want to throw it in any of the areas that are available right now. I don't want to demolish any buildings to actually get a cemetery in the city. So what I think I'm going to do is continue to build out our grid and find a new location for a cemetery. Back to our old pattern. So here's where I'm going to disrupt River Street. Unfortunately, that will mean that I demolish a couple homes. So I think what I'm going to do for River Street is actually follow the shoreline and build it up a little ways so that the grid naturally kind of works its way into River Street. Okay, so now we have River Street established. Let's make sure the naming is correct. So it's Evergreen Road. First will be east, this will be West River Street. Okay, so we have that. Let's connect up our grid. We still have some weird River Street segments in here. So we're gonna need to rename some of these roads. So third. Interesting. So we still have some of this legacy roadway naming, which I think is pretty interesting. So unfortunately, we're going to delete that to fix some of that. So A, B, C. All right, learned a lot about the roadway naming. Caught some bugs, which takes me back to my my roots of working at 2K Games way back in the day, because you just see some of these oddities popping up, which leads me to believe that when the game was being tested, the testers cared about roadway naming as much as most players, which is not enough. Okay, so we have 3rd Street coming in here. Okay, so I think we have all of those fixed now, except for Eliza. We'll get to that a little bit later. So I think we can resume again and start thinking about our death care. Whoa! Kidding. We can think about how our city just lost power because of all the wonderful changes that I just made. Okay. All right. Now we can think about death care. So I'm going to put this here, and it's going to be here. And before things start forming around there, let's get our paths in place. Okay, so we've got our paths, we've got our cemetery. It fits well. This is one of the great things about the 15 by 12 grid. Look at how naturally that fits in there. Perfect. I love it. Works really well. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to think about a little bit in this episode, beyond looking at all of our needs, I think that our water availability is a little bit low, and we need some pipes now. Let's get our pipes in place. And now I think I'm going to just pump up the budget for a little while here and use that as kind of my stopgap. Let's see, that helps. Power, we're going to be in the same situation. And I think in the next episode we're going to want to start investigating some other power solutions, because this is just not working. I think we're going to want to fulfill some of our zoning needs. So again, I want to do I want some neighborhood retail. I think I'm going to zone some kind of unique sized lots. We'll fill these in as we go along. And my main thought with kind of zoning oddly like this is I want different homes of different sizes, different stores of different sizes. I don't want it to be uniformly large lot development, which you can sometimes get. I also want to put some paths through here now, so maybe I should be in the right tool. And then let's fill in the rest of our zoning. Okay, and on this side I want to do the same thing to River Street, which is now 4th Street, and that is to change this up before something develops on it and start to follow the riverbank. So I think I'm going to extend this out again like I did on the other side, all the way to the end of the map. Now the other thing I think I want to do is there's a 90 here. I think I'm just going to extend this road out to tee it so that we can not have any weird naming situations there either. Now we are running into garbage problems even with the solution that I put out. I think we are going to need another recycling plant. You know, I'd love to just eliminate this and keep the recycling plants together, but I don't want to start demolishing a bunch of buildings. That would never happen. You wouldn't just say, well, you know, I'd like to have this close to the other one, so let's just have this brand new factory be eliminated. We would kind of deal with it being where it is. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so I can already see what a struggle it's going to be to get the roads named correctly, because the names just don't make sense. So there's got to be some sort of a trick, but if there is, I'm not seeing it, because the names are certainly kind of randomly changing, and that's problematic when you're trying to be deliberate about the street names. You can see that like this is changing. That's 4th Street turns into Davis. Whoops, and now I'm going too far. Oh, the struggle is real. Okay, so we'll have to see how sustainable it is to continue to name the streets. It's clearly been a bit of a challenge. Maybe that's putting it lightly. So now we do have all of our needs, I think, for the most part met. Our garbage processing status still isn't great. We probably need to get to the incineration plant before things start looking up for us. I still am very reluctant to use the landfill. The main reason for that is if I could convert the landfill into something useful, let's say a dog park or just something, just a public green space, emptiness, something that's not a landfill, I would be all about them. I'd place them all over. You know, they are an eyesore. They do create methane, and you know, gases come up from there, and you have to, from time to time, let some of that gas out. But that's a lot better than having a landfill there and then just deleting it and pretending that a landfill wasn't there. You'd never dig all that out and just burn it. I mean, maybe you would, but it seems pretty impractical. So that's why I like recycling centers and incinerators, at least in the game, because I think that the mechanic is a little weird. But I would understand if you use it, and I certainly have used it. I just prefer not to. So we have a little bit more building to do. I kind of want to just get our main grid filled in before I end this episode, and so I think that's what I'm going to do quickly. So again, the thought process here is this is some valuable land. We want to keep our residential uses on there. We don't have a lot of pollution we don't have any pollution going in the water, so this would be pristine riverfront. So let's keep it pristine with nice residential uses. We could do some commercial. Now I mentioned before that I wanted to keep some riverfront available. When I say before, in the first episode, I wanted to keep some riverfront available for public uses. I think I'm going to refrain from zoning all of this riverfront, and in the future have some sort of pedestrian path network that goes along here. Maybe some beaches. You kind of see it's some sandy beaches over here. Maybe we'll extend that out and use it as a public amenity. That's something that I think a lot of cities can miss out on, is they will develop the entire waterfront, and it's great for people who live there. This person loves that they get to see the water, they get to put their kayak directly out, but it's not really all that great for anyone else. And so I want to keep that public space available outside of the paid park, which again, there is access here, but it's not the same as having a free park, free water, waterfront property available. So we're going to keep that available for anyone who wants it. So I think we're going to end it there. Not a lot of building today, but we did get our park built. We have extended the grid out a bit, and we have deathcare in place. So I'm happy with where we ended. Please, if you like this video, please consider liking it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please consider doing that. And if you want to be notified when I release new videos, please hit that notification bell and you will be notified. Thank you so much for joining me, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.